was hard, to be honest. It was quite a task.
I can imagine.
But I was determined, and so juggling, working full time in a hospital lab, working nights, and finding the time to follow several courses online. It's quite hard. But I was determined. There are a lot of Nigerians coming to the UK right now who find themselves doing care work, working as sort of domestic helps and that. I did all of these things, but I knew where I was going.
Thank you very much for joining our channel. Today I'm speaking to my friend Tony. Tony is a software engineer based here in the UK. Tony, let's get straight into it. Can you tell us your job title and then just give an idea of what your role looks like on a day-to-day?
Cool. First of all, I'm going to say thanks for having me on your channel.
Pleasure to have you.
Yeah, so I currently work as a software engineer. On a day-to-day basis, I sort of write software, I write code.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what types of tasks are you normally writing code for? Are you developing apps or are you writing code to fix certain problems?
So I'm currently writing apps and also writing sort of little bits of scripts here and there to fix certain problems. So I currently work in the customer relationship management world.
Gotcha.
And, do some work in the cloud as well.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Your story is a bit interesting. I didn't want to mention it at the start so that I could lead into it. You didn't always start as a software engineer.
Yeah.
In fact, you've spent a good number of years in the medical field and then transitioned to IT, software engineering.
Yeah.
Just take me back a little bit from your coming into the UK, getting into the medical field, working there for a bit, and then what prompted your change?
All right. It's quite a story, and I'm going to try as much as I can to sort of summarize it.
Sure.
So I came to England in 2008. To do a master's course in biomedical sciences. Prior to that, I'd studied for a human anatomy degree in Nigeria. So yeah, when I came over, typical fresher to England, it was for a master's course in hematology at the time. And so whilst I was at university, I found a way to get myself into the hospital as a volunteer. So I went into the hospital and offered myself up to do some cleaning and, whatever it was going to take me to get into the hospital, I was willing to do.
Yeah.
And so I graduated, found a role as a trainee sort of in the lab and did that for a couple of years, became specialized in hematology and blood transfusion.
Yeah.
And following on from that, I kind of knew that medicine wasn't for me.
Okay.
I always wanted to do tech.
At this point, though, how many years are we talking about between you coming into the UK and then you getting to that point where you've now gotten your role in the medical field? So
I would say at about the third year mark, I was already a specialist.
Gotcha.
In dual specialty in hematology and blood transfusion. And so following on from the third year mark to say about the fourth, fifth year mark, I started to look at other options.
Okay.
I felt like I'd come to that point where I've done this, I've done it for myself, I've achieved a level of success in it, but I wanted to do me, which was to work in technology. And so, I started to self-learn, YouTube videos, online courses.
I'm still just trying to figure out what could have triggered that change. Actually, one question I forgot to ask. You touched on it very briefly, but can you just explain to those watching at a very high level, what is hematology?
Hematology is basically the study of blood, human blood.
Yeah.
Study of blood and blood-borne diseases, basically.
Gotcha. So while you were practicing, what were your activities looking like when you were in the hospitals?
So I was doing a lot of blood testing, diagnosis, basically.
Gotcha.
Diagnosing cancers, looking at blood films, doing quality assurance, just the whole hematology medicine.
And then you got tired of the sight of blood, so you thought.
I got tired of it. It served its purpose.
Yeah.
I look back and I'm still very proud of what I achieved, doing that job. I didn't leave it because it was a bad job. I felt that, I felt like I live in a country where you can be anything you want to be, really, if you've got the determination to pursue a dream. So, technology seemed quite watery to me at the time. And so I thought, why not give it a go?
Okay. And how did you find that transition? Was that difficult?
It was hard, to be honest. It was quite a task,
I can imagine.
but I was determined, and so juggling working full time in a hospital lab, working nights, and finding the time to follow several courses online. It's quite hard, but I was determined, and like I say, I live in a country where the resources are available. The internet, the YouTube videos are so free of charge.
Yeah.
You pay little to nothing to get the knowledge and the education that you need. And so I took advantage of that, you know.
Another thing that comes to mind, and I think a lot of people watching this will have experienced this, especially for some people that have already moved. One of the big challenges with changing your career path, so let's say you're in banking, now trying to move into IT, or in your own case, medical field, trying to move into IT, normally the biggest challenge is getting that first job to get you in, because years have passed, say, between your last educational degree
Yes.
and the time you're applying for the job, because obviously you are working in an entirely different career.
Yeah.
So sometimes recruiters obviously not patient enough to get that explanation. How did you find your experience of changing careers and landing that first job to now get you progressing in the IT field?
Okay. First of all, when I started to learn to program, I'm going to be honest, the job thing was not the driving sort of motivation for me. I wanted a hobby. I wanted to do something that I always enjoyed to do. Coming back to the getting a job question, it's always going to be hard to get that first job. And it's not just technology that applies to. It applies, across the board. Every university graduate is going to struggle to get that first job. So it's now up to you to market yourself. You've got to be able to show a prospective employer that you're willing to sort of to grow fast, to learn on your own. And there are people out there who will give you a chance. I got given a chance, in my late 30s. I had a fully functional career, and when I went to interviews, I had to just tell them what I had done. They say a man's gift will make room for him. So my previous sort of experience and the dedication that I had shown whilst I was in the field of, biomedicine, I was sort of able to convince people that I was going to bring that skill over. And within the first couple of interviews, I got, offered my first role. So I don't want people to be discouraged. There are companies out there that will give you a chance and just keep growing. I had a couple of interviews where, a chance wasn't given to me. That didn't deter me. These interviews sort of helped me become better prepared for the next one, you know.
And can you just speak to how you see the opportunities in IT from your own experience, especially having come from a different field, to someone that is considering that as a path? How have you seen the opportunities that are available in IT? What kind of options do you think people should keep in mind if they want to get into IT now?
I think the opportunities are endless. There are several fields, so several subfields
Yeah.
in the general field of IT. What is your passion is what I tell people. What is it that you want to do? I remember when I started, I investigated cybersecurity. I investigated AI, data engineering, data science, software engineering. And so I stuck with the software developer path, and sorry, what was your other question again about?
For people that might be looking to get into IT now,
Yeah.
because it's a very popular field for people that
Yeah.
are coming from a background where, depending on where you're coming from, you might come in here and some of the experiences or certificates you had, if you're coming from a place like Nigeria,
Yeah.
they might not be
Sort of transfer
accepted.
over here.
Yeah.
What I'll say is start today. Start upgrading yourself, basically. Start relearning.
Yeah.
Start today. Start small. It was in when 2012 I picked up my first IT book ever. It was on SQL Server. I had no idea what data was. and the arranging of data and the querying of data. I started like that.
Yeah.
Went for my first certification exam and failed it. You know, I stopped for a few
Yeah.
weeks and then started again.
It can be very, very demoralizing, man.
It can be, but like I say, once you're determined, like anything in life, if you are determined to pursue a dream, to pursue a thing, go for it. The employers will see it. You know, your portfolio of things that you've sort of studied and kept. You know, if you've really gone down that path of learning and wanting to know it, you should be able to put one or two words together at an interview.
Moving away from IT temporarily, you've now been in the UK, you said from 2008.
Yes,
So
15 years.
15 years now. Another thing that I know a lot of people don't consider when they're looking at opportunities to move abroad.
Yeah.
And I won't say they don't look at these things intentionally. It's just most people are looking because they know there are opportunities there. They want to take advantage of those opportunities. But it means they don't take enough time to assess some of the struggles associated with living abroad or living in a country like the UK.
Yeah.
In your 15 years here, there must have been some struggles, career-wise, just personal, family, connections with family back home. Can you just speak to some of the struggles and challenges you faced overall in your 15 years here?
I'm going to have to look in the camera and sort of talk about this one, because I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's all been a sort of rosy journey. There have been moments where it has been, really, really tough. It takes a lot of courage to get on a plane, and leave everyone that you know behind, your culture, your family, to a place where you barely know anyone.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of courage to do that. And I can't promise that it's always going to be easy, but with determination, the skills that you need are available here. Like I said, the courses, the materials, the electricity, the resources, in general are available. Yeah. So as much as there's going to be challenges, I don't want you to sort of be focused on that. Be focused on the goal. The goal is what's going to sort of give you the determination to wake up every morning and just go for it, really.
Would you do it again?
I would do it again.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I like the version of me today.
Yeah.
I like the version of what I've become, as a result of my decision to leave my job. I had a good job in Nigeria, but I wanted something for myself. Aside from the ability to have a good job that pays more, I wanted a certain lifestyle.
Yeah.
And the UK affords it to me. The West, living in the West, affords me that lifestyle. And yeah, I'll do it again. Absolutely.
And again, I want to hone in a bit on struggles.
Yeah.
Would you say cultural type struggles have been more significant than, say, career struggles? So has it been a case of adapting to society? Has something like that been a bigger challenge than, say, the pressure at work, for example? Or is there a different type of struggle that you've experienced in your time that you feel people need to know about this?
Yeah, I would like to talk about, aside from sort of the cultural and the sort of academic or whatever struggles. I remember my first sort of lecture, my first class in the UK. I slept off in class because I literally had no idea what the man was talking. Very strong English accent, and I'd basically just come from Nigeria. You have that element of struggle where you have to deal with a totally different culture where people are generally more conservative, and then you have the struggles of missing your family, feel like you're forced to do certain jobs that might not be that might not be ideal for you.
Yeah.
There are a lot of Nigerians coming to the UK right now who find themselves doing care work, working as sort of domestic helps and that. I did all of these things, but I knew where I was going. I knew that England was a place of opportunities, and it didn't matter what job it was that I was doing at the time. It didn't matter what the struggle was at the time. I knew that I was going to succeed, and a lot of us Nigerians come from like a religious background, and our religions teach us that things can get better, with perseverance, and yeah.
And with a lot of the things you've said and the rewards that have come from them, I get the feeling that long term, well, I don't want to make the assumption, so I'll put it as a question. Do you now see the UK as a final destination, so to speak? Or so are you satisfied with where you are now and where you expect it can take you by virtue of being here? Or do you still look, for example, at Nigeria as a place where eventually you still want to go back to?
I find myself to always be evolving. I do not feel like I have come to a final bus stop.
Yeah.
I'm currently doing software engineering today and currently living in the UK. Who knows? I might be in Kenya tomorrow, South Africa. I really want to go back to Africa.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to be Nigeria, perhaps a political appointment. Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I have started to think about going back to a warmer country. Now that I have the opportunity to work from anywhere in the world, I don't feel like I have to be in the UK anymore. So, yeah, it's in my purview. At some point, I might, go back to some warmer country.
It makes a difference. Yeah. It makes a difference. And again, I know we're laughing about it now. It's one of those types of things that people don't think can be a serious thing. If there's an opportunity for me to leave where I am to move to a country to take opportunities, and the only downside there is that it's cold, then of course I'm going to take it. I think that's what a lot of people will think about. Yeah. But then when you move and you live through dealing with it on a day-to-day basis in the periods where it can really, and then especially when you start to get other things that need you to be available no matter the weather. If you start to have family that you need to take to certain places regardless of time or season, you can't now decide, actually I'll just stay indoors, it's cold. That doesn't really become an option anymore. Yeah. So, but I guess in rounding up, what would you say to someone as a word of advice to someone that is looking at opportunities from Nigeria now, doesn't have any background, doesn't have any experience or knowledge of IT or software engineering, but understands that there are opportunities there, so wants to explore it? Yeah. How would you tell the person to start?
A favorite speaker of mine once said something. I was quite young at the time when he said this. He said, a lizard will not leave Nigeria and go abroad and become an alligator. And that kind of makes a lot of sense to me. Don't be sitting in Nigeria and hoping that, and doing nothing with your life and hoping that when you travel, things are magically going to work out for you. You've got to start today, irrespective of where you are. You might be in Ikorodu right now or Bauchi or somewhere, and you have a huge dream for a better life for yourself. Start today. What is it that you want to achieve? Do you want to become an engineer? Do you want to become the next oil and gas expert? Start today. We've got the internet today, quit the Facebooks and the Instagrams. Get on YouTube and, start to learn, start slowly. I started my sort of interest in IT about 9-8 years ago. And today I'm writing high-level software. It started as a dream, I mean, I remember being a young boy in university in Nigeria, and I'll say to my friends, I'm going to travel, I'm going to do these things, and because I had that as a passion, as a dream, and as a desire, I kept every day practicing, practicing even the way that I speak English, because I knew that it was going to come in handy one day. So, practice, start today, achieve something, plan for the future, and
No, that's been very useful, Tony. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. A lot of that came out as very heartfelt as well. So I guess it's coming from a place of 50 years of burying yourself into the UK experience.
Thanks,
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I'm sure a lot of people will find that very useful.
I hope so.
Yeah. All right, take care. It's been nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.